In light of the ongoing refugee crisis in Europe, I think it's important we take a moment to remember that these migrants are just people. With that being said, I want to highlight a video put out by the Red Cross. It showcases the harrowing journey of a young Afghan migrant as he makes his way to Greece. I'm going to just take a moment to pull it up on the screen now. Give me 1 second. Okay, wait. Now I'm seeing a message that the Red Cross has taken down the video because the migrant choked a woman to death while she was in Greece to do charity work for the refugees. Huh. Hmm. I'm Tyler Chrestman. Welcome to the Chrestman Conversation. Okay, hello everyone. Welcome in to the Chrestman Conversation. We have three topics that we're going to get into today. We're going to talk about this Red Cross video that I alluded to in the intro. Fix that, my goodness. We're going to talk about the NBA players that are declaring for the WNBA draft, and then we're going to talk about AOC freezing her eggs. Now, before we get into any of that, I think it's important that we take note. Back in the studio this week, so sorry for the poor quality video. I'm going to say poor audio video quality last week because obviously the material is still top notch, but it's nice to be back in the studio. I also got this brand new blue suede dinner jacket, so I'm feeling good today, people. That's just if it's obvious, I'm looking good, I'm feeling good. We got a great episode. I'm excited for you to be here. Before we get into any of the topics, let's do our favorite comment from last week. Favorite comment comes from at Steve H-TJ5JM. That's a family name, I'm sure, who said, quote, "They're obviously just wanting to try out for the next FIFA World Cup championship team," end quote. Steve, obviously talking about all of the migrants that the 60,000 or so that invaded Spain this last week. We have a bunch of soccer superstars, a bunch of dreamers out there. They're just trying to make it into the World Cup. Steve, I agree with you. Definitely nothing nefarious going on there whatsoever. Just dreams of soccer superstardom. Anyway, thank you for the comment. Let's get right into it. The topic one, the Red Cross oopsie. So the Red Cross put out a video. This was years ago. It was an animated video about an Afghan migrant as he fled Afghanistan and made his way to Europe. In this case, it was Greece. I believe first he tried to go into Turkey and eventually made his way to Greece, I think is the story. The video was called The Game of Life, The Story of Sharif. It was published on YouTube in December of 2016 by the IFRC, which is the International Federation of the Red Cross. I believe that's the official name of the Red Cross. And the video, it really, if you've never explored what it takes for someone to migrate, so if you're looking at a South American person who basically makes their way across Central America, across Mexico to get into the United States, or in this case, somebody who's trying to make their way from the Middle East into Turkey or Greece or Europe as a whole, it is a rather harrowing journey. And many of the people are robbed or killed, or the women, basically virtually all of them are sexually assaulted. It's pretty terrible. And this video in particular, Sharif's father, he was in the military. He was killed in an ambush. And then his mother and siblings were killed by a suicide bomber in Kabul. So it's a horrible story. And then he had to make his way to Europe. I think from my recollection, at least, the story is that he hit Turkish borders and was turned back either once or twice and then eventually wound up in Greece. It took him a while, though. He's in a refugee camp and now he lives in Greece. It's a horrible, horrible, sad story about a boy. He was basically 15 years old when this took place. Well, this week, the Red Cross had to take down the video because Sharif is now accused of murdering a woman in Greece. Again, the guy's name is Sharif. He's now 26 years old. So this was 10 years ago. He would have been 15 or 16 years old when the video went up. He was arrested for the murder of a 38-year-old woman named Elizabeth Jane Ross, or Lisa, as she was known to her friends. Lisa was a volunteer with a refugee support group in Athens. And Sharif, he's not confessed to the murder, but he did admit to some things which I'll say make it look like he probably murdered her. He admitted that he saw her when she was dying. He said that he went up to her apartment and she was basically choking to death. and or sputtering water out of her mouth, and then he left. And then he came back and surprised she was dead. Didn't tell anyone, oh my gosh, this poor woman's dying. Just came back and she said, oh no, he was dead. And so then he just said, oh, well, what I probably should do with this person I definitely didn't kill is put her body in a suitcase, which he did, and then take the suitcase to an abandoned building and ditch it, which he also did. Now, he admitted to all that. He said, I didn't kill her. I just showed up when she was dying, didn't help, and then put her body in a suitcase and went and ditched it in a building for some reason. Obviously, just an incredibly unbelievable, stupid story. He also stole her phone and her bank card and took about $10,000 out of her bank account and used her phone to communicate with friends and family back. I think she was from Scotland, if I'm not mistaken. I believe she's from Scotland. Edinburgh? That's Scotland, right? It was texting her friends and family back home to let them believe that she was still alive. So he did all of this stuff, but he is not saying, he said, I didn't kill her, guys. Like, let's not jump to conclusions and say that the man's a murderer. That'd be crazy. But obviously a murderer, like pretty obviously a murderer, right? So he, at least my opinion, he seems like he probably killed her. Anyway, the Red Cross had to take this video down because obviously it's a terrible look for them to have a video making a sympathetic video about this person who then murdered a woman in the country that he migrated to. The funny part about this story, if there is a funny part about a horrible, tragic story, is that the guy was married, the Sharif, he's married, and his wife is the person, I guess, who turned him in because she woke up in the middle of the night. He was gone. She looked at the location on his phone. He was at the apartment that she knew that this woman lived at. And then later when she found out that the woman was missing, she was like, oh, this guy, my husband was there, probably killed her. What the heck? And or knows something about it. And then the husband tried to bribe the wife. The Sharif tried to bribe his wife by giving her a new phone and $2,500 and said, hey, just hush up about this. And she took it all straight to the police and was like, yeah, this guy did it. So good on her. That must be a difficult thing for a woman to do, to basically say, hey, my husband's a murderer, but she did it. There are a couple things I want to talk about, why we're highlighting this story. One, it's not an Islamic attack. The apparently Sharif converted to, he was not Christian, but he converted once he arrived in Europe. He converted to Christianity. So this is not an Islamic jihadist attack, at least from the outside. It doesn't appear that way because he was a Christian, which he would not even pretend to be if he was actually some sort of jihadist. So you're saying, well, it's not an Islamic attack. It's just some sort of interpersonal murder that happened between a migrant and a woman. Okay, that's fine. The problem with this in particular is that it highlights something that I really feel like gives a lot of credence to, or excuse me, credibility, I should say, to the right. It really makes the right look correct on this thing. I have a big concern about illegal immigration for a number of reasons. I think it's bad for the economy. I think that it is bad for social cohesion. I think that you have a right to know who comes in and out of your country, and you have a right to deny people because they do not share your ideology or they do not believe in the system that your country operates in. So we shouldn't let anyone into the country who hates America or hates the American system of government. That just seems obvious to me. But there's a bigger thing that also concerns me, which is, as we have seen, the rise of global jihad and basically the continuing conflict between Islam and the West that's basically been going on for, I don't know, somewhere around, well, let's just say since the year 650. So if you want to do the math, about 1,500 years we've been having a conflict with Islam. If you want to say these things, if you want to acknowledge that this problem exists, this just furthers one of the points that the right makes, which is that there is a real risk of who you let into the country. This person wasn't a jihadist. I have a concern that we're letting people into the country who mean to do the country harm in the name of Islam. I also have a concern that has nothing to do with religion and everything to do with the fact that people who come across your border, every one of them that commits any crime at all, any singular crime, is something that didn't need to happen. This woman didn't need to die because we didn't need to let Sharif into the West, Greece, and Turkey, while Not really. They are part of what we would consider a Western civilization. Basically, Western civilization comes from Greece. It's a culmination of Greece and Israel, or what they say, Jerusalem and Athens, that come together to give us Western civilization. Those two places. So in a lot of our culture comes from Greece. Again, the idea of democracy, for example. We are letting people in we're letting people in who do not share a common culture. They do not share a common history. They do not share common beliefs. And in the case of Sharif, who say, well, he was a Christian. He converted when he came over. Well, he murdered a woman, and he didn't need to be there in the first place. He could have stayed in Afghanistan. We could have said, no, sorry, we're not going to take you in. His story is sad, which is why the Red Cross made a video. The story of many people in the Middle East is a sad one. The story of many people in South America is a sad one. The West is not required to then take all of those people in so they can commit violence in our country or economically depress our country or try and change our country from a fundamental basis. I have some baseline things. If you want to come into America, you have to contribute. You can never accept any government aid, or anyone in your household cannot accept government aid. You have to speak English, in the example of America. You have to speak English, and you have to speak English pretty fluently. I don't think we should let anyone into the country if they do not speak English to live. You can come visit for a week, and you got to go home, or 2 weeks, maybe, max. But then you got to go home. But you can't stay here. You can't work here. You can't live here if you don't speak English, period. Those would be my rules. And every crime that any illegal immigrant or a migrant or a refugee takes place in your country is one that didn't need to happen. This poor woman, misguided though she is, she went to Greece to work with refugees, and she wound up murdered by a refugee. It goes to show you that there is a fundamental disconnect, or what Gadsad would call suicidal empathy, that many people, many well-meaning Western liberals have. They do not understand. I am not a hateful person. They don't understand this because they'll listen to me say something like this, like, we should be worried about what Islam will do to the West. And all they hear is, you're Islamophobic, you hate Muslims. No one is saying that. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that people who do not share your culture and mean to undermine the liberalism of the West, and I mean liberalism in the best sense of the word, like tolerance and freedom of expression and thought, these kind of liberal ideas, that kind of stuff, if they want to use your liberalism against you, you are doing it wrong. If you let them in, you let the wolves in disguise the sheep, they eat you. That's the way it works. And people don't understand this. This poor woman didn't understand this, and now she's dead. And the Red Cross, in this circumstance, did something bad, because it's easy to show the sad stories of the refugees and the sad stories of the people and the hard lives they lead. All over the world, this is true. In the West, we're fat and happy. In America right now, the socialists might have you think that everyone's poor and life is so terrible and it's miserable. This is the best time it's ever been to be alive. There is money out there to be made. You just have to work. It's really not that difficult. Don't be fat and stupid, and you can get a job doing basically anything. It's not that difficult. And you can even be fat and do most jobs. So you can even be fat and kind of stupid and do most jobs. They'll have you believe that everything is terrible and the West is falling. It's not true unless we invite in the people who mean to do us harm. You look at the Democratic Socialists of America, and what do you see? You see a bunch of immigrants or children of immigrants who hate America. They shouldn't be here. Zohran Mamdani, he shouldn't be in this country. Ilhan Omar, she shouldn't be in this country. Rashida Tlaib, she shouldn't be in this country. Why? Because they hate the country. They're trying to overthrow, drastically change it. They want to dismantle our system of government and implement their own. Go back to your own country and do that there. Ilhan Omar, she loves Somalia so much, go live there. I think we could easily raise some money to buy her a plane ticket and send her back to Somalia. She could be queen of the pirates. I don't care. But this is what I'm talking about. People think that, oh my gosh, it's like you put brown face on bad ideas and all of a sudden all these well-meaning, useful idiots, namely white liberals, think that, oh, these ideas are so great. Zohran Mamdani, democratic socialism, isn't it great? Look at him. He's so smiley and happy. No. Guys, he is a nefarious character who means to dismantle America. And some people, again, the misguided, useful idiots on the left at this point think that this is an appropriate thing to do, that socialism is a good idea, that the West is the bad guy because they're historically ignorant. They don't understand the world. They don't understand that right now, if we just willy-nilly invited people in, let's say of the 50-something, 54 majority Muslim countries on the planet, we just invite all of them into the United States. Do we think that the country is better or worse? I think it's worse because I actually don't think that cultural relativism is a good thing. I think some cultures are better than others. I think our culture is better than, let's say, for example, the Taliban culture in Afghanistan, where they will kill homosexuals, but also like having sex with young boys. I think that's a bad culture. I think they do bad things. I think they mistreat women. I think they don't let them go to school. They don't let them vote. I think, again, not to put too fine a point on it, they like to have sex with young boys. I think that this is a bad thing. So I think I could say American culture is better than the culture in Afghanistan. I understand why someone like Sharif might want to leave. But that doesn't mean that the West has to invite them in so that they can eat them, so that they can eat us, I should say. It's a bad thing, and the Red Cross did a bad thing. But anyway, it's just going to continue to happen. This is a problem that's not going away anytime soon. And we could talk about it all episode, but we got important things to get to. So let's get into topic 2, the WNBA, but for men. The WNBA has got to be the worst sports league in the world. And I don't mean just because it's boring and no one watches it. It's doing better than it's ever done. But what I mean is they are just trying their best to implode that entire system. It finally has gotten to a point where some people actually care about the WNBA. They might have tens of fans in the stands now. And they're trying to take all this goodwill that really Caitlin Clark brought to the league, and they're just trying their hardest to absolutely destroy it. Caitlin Clark obviously was very popular, but she happens to be white. I don't know if you know this. She happens to be white. And a lot of the people in the WNBA thought that she was getting unfair media coverage or glorification because she's white. And basically she gets in there, she gets bullied by a bunch of large black lesbians every game. And people don't, it's just crazy. And people look around and say, man, it's kind of wild, isn't it? That this is just like the way it is. Like they're beating her up because she's white and popular, and that seems weird and racist. Well, the WNBA has now taken this sort of terrible image and they've made it worse this week because Sophie Cunningham, who also is on a team, the Indiana Fever, with Caitlin Clark, I can now name, I mean, this is just how big the WNBA is. I can now name like 3 teams, I think. There's the New York Liberty and the Indiana Fever, and this other team that I looked up, the Minnesota Lynx. So I know 3 WNBA teams. This is 3 more than I knew last year. All right? That's how popular the WNBA is. Somebody who doesn't know anything now knows 3 whole teams. Well, Sophie Cunningham, who plays for the Indiana Fever with Caitlin Clark, she made a comment about how we should protect girls' sports from having to compete against biological men. What I would call the most common sense, non-hateful statement that a person could make about trans people in sports. The league just exploded. People came out, Sophie Cunningham, she's transphobic. This league is trans inclusive. The Minnesota Lynx, here we go. The head coach, Cheryl Reeves, she actually wore a shirt when they played the Indiana Fever that said, trans kids belong. Really letting Sophie Cunningham know. I don't know Sophie Cunningham. I don't know her politics. I don't know how she feels about trans people. Maybe she hates them. Or maybe she says what is really the most common sense approach to sports, which is that biological men should not be playing female sports. It gives them an unfair advantage. It's not because we don't like trans people. It's not because we don't want trans people to be able to play sports or that we think that they shouldn't be trans. I'm not saying any of that. All I'm saying is it is unfair to the women who play the sports. If you can't acknowledge that, you don't live in reality. That's all it is. You're a liar, or you are just so ideologically captured that you can't see the truth before your very eyes. It blew up this week because 2 former NBA players, Enes Kanter Freedom and Royce White, declared their eligibility for the WNBA draft. I want to show you the video from Enes Kanter. Take a look at this. That was loud.
After careful consideration and reviewing the current eligibility guidelines, I am officially declaring myself a WNBA prospect. If simply declaring who you are is all that's required, then I meet every single requirement necessary to compete in the WNBA. My team and I have carefully examined the WNBA's eligibility criteria and governing framework surrounding self-identification and inclusion. Based on the current guidelines, I can and am officially declaring my eligibility for the upcoming WNBA draft in May 2027. I am definitely not here to mock, make fun of, or disrespect any community or personal choices. I am simply asking that the current rules be applied equally to everyone. The rules that represent the very values many WNBA players and coaches have publicly advocated for. My team and I are prepared to ensure these guidelines are applied equally, consistently, and without exception. And I look forward to the WNBA honoring its stated principles. See you at training camp.
Woo. Okay. That video was kind of blurry. Don't know why. So basically, the give me one sec. Sorry here. All right. Sorry about that. Had to fix that. Hopefully for the next thing I'm about to show you. Okay. So the video shows that this Cantor Freedom. I'm not a big NBA fan anymore, but I actually know who this guy is because he's been around some conservative politics in the last few years. He basically comes out and he says, I'm not here to make fun of or disparage anyone. All I've said is I have reviewed the rules. I think I meet the qualifications or the eligibility requirements, and I'm ready to play basketball. I think I'll be an asset to the team. Very good. I think he is actually onto something here because this is actually the player eligibility criteria from the collective bargaining agreement. I don't know why that's so blurry. Sorry this is so blurry. I'm not 100% sure what that's about right now. The player eligibility says only players who are women are eligible to play in the WNBA. And then it goes on to describe your college degrees and all the things you have to do to declare, blah, 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 blah. But it doesn't define what a woman is. And people in the league, including the president or the commissioner of the league, she has said that they are trans inclusive. They haven't come out specifically and said that, but they've let them know. The players union, who negotiated the collective bargaining agreement, they came out and they condemned hate, abuse, and demonization in their statement. Many of the players have said they're trans inclusive. The WNBA commissioner, Kathy Engelbert, she said this is a quote, "We recognize that this is a complex and nuanced topic, and we will continue to have important conversations with all of you and the Players Association in the weeks and months ahead." That is from the WNBA commissioner. It's nuanced. I don't think it is. I think it's a very straightforward and easy topic to fix. Just say biological men cannot play in a women's league. Not because we don't like trans people, but because it's obviously unfair. There's no criteria to decide who is this and who is that. If your self-declared identity is enough, how do you prove that you're trans? Answer me this question. What do I have to do? If I was to say I'm a woman right now, how can you tell me I'm not? That's a serious question. How can you tell me I'm not? Like, let's say, if gender is fluid, I can change. I say, you know what? In this moment, I don't feel like a man. I'm a woman right now. How can you tell me I'm not? What is the criteria to define a woman? What is a woman, as Matt Walsh would say? I think that they are digging themselves a hole. To me, it's clear. I know what a woman is. And it's not, people say, oh, it's an adult human female. Okay, yeah. It's a lot simpler than that. And I don't think you need to make it a thing that's coached in some biological language. I know what a woman is. Intuitively, you know what a woman is. You could say, yeah, a woman, she has whatever, a reproductive organs of a female. She's XX. She basically has, you could say whatever you want. But we all know what a woman is. Like, the fact that I can just look and with a 99% accuracy tell you if someone's a woman or a man when I'm 5 years old, tells you that human beings just know the answer to this question. Like to me, adult human female, it sounds clinical, but it also is true. I think you should have the reproductive organs that human females are born with to be a woman. You want to call yourself a woman? I don't care, by the way. You can do whatever you want. But there's a couple areas that I do care. And the only time I ever talk about trans people is in two areas. When we're talking about giving kids hormones and we're talking about playing female sports. That's it. Other than that, I don't care. But I'm forced to care because you have to watch some hulking dude in a dress, injure female volleyball players because no one wants to say, well, yeah, that's obviously absurd. You want to watch them win state track meets and take trophies and college scholarships away from their females who've trained their whole life. Because why? Because we just want to say, oh, yeah, that's totally fine and normal. It's not totally fine. It's not normal, and it shouldn't be accepted. It's not fair to women. If the WNBA wants to allow transgender athletes, fine, please do. Do whatever you want. It's your league. I don't watch it. I don't care about it. But then explain to me why these two men can't be on a team. If I was one of the WNBA coaches who thought that this whole thing was absurd, I would say, yeah, we're going to sign him. I would sign Enes Kanter Freedom because he would dominate. You'd win nothing but championships. It would be like drafting a prime Shaquille O'Neal to play in your rec league. Like that's how dominant it would be. And I think it'd be hilarious. I think you should do it. But at the same time, I think that the WNBA recognizes that this is absurd and they just can't say it because their base thinks that this is a totally normal thing and totally fine. And I just want to say it's just nonsense. It's silly, silly stuff. And I don't know what to tell you other than don't do this or do it. Like I said, if you're an NBA coach, I think even the Indiana Fever coach has said some things that are stupid, but if I'm a coach for one of these teams, I would challenge the WNBA to tell me why I'm not allowed to do it. Draft both of them. I'm going to take Enes Kanter Freedom and Royce White. We're going to have the most dominant 1-2 that has ever hit the league. It's going to be Malone and Stockton, Jordan and Pippen, all again. It's going to happen, and we're going to do it, and it's going to be great, and they're going to be forced to play the game. I think if they don't get drafted, I hit the league with the lawsuit, and seriously do it. If the Players Association wants to come out and say, we support transgender athletes, then make them do it. And then have all of the people in the league realize that the men will take your jobs. They absolutely are better than you at basketball. And I don't know what to tell you. It just reminds me how important it was that Donald Trump won. Because Donald Trump signed an executive order that cut federal funds from schools that allowed transgender women to play. And it's great. And the NCAA did the same thing a day later. They basically barred trans athletes from competing in college, which is great. Even in the liberal bastion that is Canada, they also recently passed legislation that bans transgender girls from participating in sports. The International Olympic Committee has also done it. There's nothing wrong with this. It's not hateful. And I'm so sick of being told it's hateful or bigoted against trans people. No, it's not. It's unfair. Anyone with eyes can do that. The South Park episode where they had oh man, Macho Man, Randy Savage. They had Randy Savage go and dominate the female athletics, the female whatever they were doing, track, I think, in the episode, where he just is out there just destroying them. And he's like, I'm such a woman. Oh yeah. It's like that is a real thing. And it's a silly, silly stuff that we have to pretend that this is totally appropriate. Anyway, let's get into topic 3, AOC freezing her eggs. Now, I realize on this show, many times, I have made fun of AOC. I'm not going to do that this week. I promise you, this is real. I'm not being sarcastic. I know I'm sarcastic on this show quite a lot. I'm not being sarcastic here. I'm not here to make fun of AOC for freezing her eggs. I think that this is a really, really sad story. And the reason why I think it's sad is because it's not her fault that she wound up in this position. AOC has been sold a lie, as many women in this country have, that is the lie of feminism. And I think that many people mistake what feminism is, what it's here for, what it does, because I don't think anyone here, not myself, certainly, nobody in this vicinity is arguing that the first wave of feminism was a bad idea. The idea that women should enjoy equal protection under the law, equal rights under the law, no one's debating that. Women should have the right to vote. You should be able to go to college. You should be able to work and do all these things. All of these things are fine. The lie that feminism has sold women, though, is that they can live life like a man and they're going to have just as great a life. And this is such a lie that has been absolutely devastating for female happiness. You can't have it all. This is absolutely a lie. Women are delaying having children, having families, getting married, having families because they want to go to college and they want to get their career established. They want to do all this stuff. And then they wind up as a 37-year-old woman trying to freeze her eggs because she doesn't have children and she wants children, but she's just not sure it's the right time in her life. This is so incredibly sad. AOC is rich. She's a powerful person. She lives a life of incredible privilege because she has all this money. She can basically do whatever she wants. And she still lives in this sad existence because part of her basically yearns for motherhood, yearns for a family. And instead, she spent 4 years engaged to this man. I guess they recently broke up, which explains the egg freezing. But she was engaged. She could have been married. She could have had children. And instead, whatever. Her life takes turns. I get it. But now you're a 37-year-old woman. You are already a high-risk pregnancy. Right now, if she was to get pregnant, she would be a high-risk pregnancy. And instead, she's going to freeze her eggs. And in the future, she's either going to try and implant them and be an incredibly high-risk procedure, or she has to get a surrogate, which has its own moral implications and complications. And she's going to have to let somebody else birth her child because she's just not in a place where she can do it yet. Now, again, this is sad. I'm not making fun of her, but she prioritized her career. She had an opportunity to go to Congress. That's great. You want to make a difference. But the reason why many people in Congress are older is because they already are established. They've already had a career. They've already done this. And you have all these old men who do this. When you do it young, and this Congress is just one example, but you can make the same in any career path. When you prioritize that career above trying to find a husband, have children, get married, do all of these things, what you wind up with is, as a 40-year-old woman, sad. And that's not funny. It's not a funny thing. I'm not, again, not poking fun at AOC, but I feel bad for her because she really bought into this lie that she could do it all and you really can't. And now, again, just sad thing. It reminds me, there's another video that was going around this week and we'll see. Again, I'm sorry it's so blurry. I don't know why it wants to be blurry on the second thing. Hey, there we go. Kind of, it's still blurry, but whatever. This video, and I want to talk about it because this video to me, it just bothers me.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is my honor to present the newly...
For those of you listening, by the way, you're a married couple. It's a wedding. The video is zoomed in on a woman, and they're getting ready to be announced.
married couple, Mr. and Mrs. Brandon Key. Mr. Brandon Key and his wife, Regina Alui. You did not tell me that!
I thought you knew!
You didn't tell me that!
I thought it was great.
Okay, so the video, for those of you just listening, it's a woman. They're getting announced. The pastor says, Mr. and Mrs. whatever, blah, blah, blah. The woman immediately turns around. You can't hear what she says, but she's saying, that's not my name. I'm keeping my name, blah, blah, blah. The pastor himself, he sighs. He goes, okay. And then he announces him again, Brandon and whatever her name is. I feel so incredibly bad for the guy who has to marry that woman. She seems insufferable in the 5-second clip that I've seen from her. I'm just going to say, that is the recipe for an unhappy life. Marrying a complaining woman is the recipe to be miserable forever. The fact that she was so indignant about being called by her husband's name just says to me, dude, run, get out of there. Now's your chance. He laughs. Oh, you're so silly. No, it's not funny. That is she, first of all, she has the crazy eyes where you could see the whites all the way around. She got them crazy eyes. Already a red flag. The fact that you're so offended by being called your husband's name is just a thing. First of all, women out there, any of the ladies out there listening, you should take your husband's name. This is just a totally normal thing to do. If you're concerned about taking your husband's name, maybe you have a good argument. Maybe you're very professionally established. Okay, my solution to that, take your last name, make it your middle name, and take your husband's last name as your last name. You can still have your name, whatever. My professional name, blah, blah, but your actual name is with the last name. But that's not most people. Most people just say, well, it's a symbol of the patriarchy because you're taking your husband's last name. Or why doesn't he take the woman's last name? Okay, if you think that taking your husband's last name is a form of the patriarchy, why get married? If marriage, if this part of marriage is just a symptom of the patriarchal institution, why get married in the first place? Wouldn't marriage itself be part of that same institution? Just the patriarchy asserting its dominance over women? Weren't women just part of a property exchange back in the day? No, the answer is this is ridiculous. You, right now, have your your father's last name. Like, that's just the way it works. There's nothing patriarchal about taking your husband's last name. What it does is it says we are now a family with a unified name. Sure, we could take the woman's last name and do the same thing, except that we have 10,000 years of human history where marriage has gone a certain direction. And you're saying, well, why shouldn't it go this other way? How about all of the years that women have taken their last name, the entire history that is behind this one way of doing things, and you stood up one day and said, yeah, but haven't we thought about doing it a different way? You're not smarter than the collective consciousness of all of human history and all of the way that marriage works. Throughout the world, by the way, in almost every case, women take the man's name. That's just the way it works throughout the world. But again, you stand up and you say, well, no, has anyone ever thought about the fact that we should take the woman's name? I promise you, we have. And you know what? We don't do it. And we don't do it throughout all of history. Again, you're not smarter than all of the humans who've ever lived. And you're not more important than all the humans. Let's say, for example, that did your mother take your father's last name? Are you better than her? Are you more important than her? Are you smarter and more capable or more of a woman or more independent or more of a feminist than your mother or your mother's mother or your mother's mother's mother? Everyone in your line up until this point, are they all hyphenated? How long is your last name? Is everybody hyphenated? What if you hyphenate your last name and your name is now Smith Jones and your husband's family, they decided they wanted to hyphenate their last name and they're now whatever, Andrews and Rabinovich, and then all of a sudden you're going to get married and then you're going to have to hyphenate your names. You're going to be Smith Jones Andrews Rabinovich, and then you're going to meet somebody else and they're going to hyphenate their name and they're going to be Smith Jones Rabinovich Andrew Nietzsche whatever. It just goes on and on and on. No, it's a stupid way to do this. You don't keep your name when you get married. This would actually it would be a deal breaker for me. Because if you're not the kind of person who can just submit to taking your husband's name in the way that we've done for all of human history, you're going to be impossible to deal with. You should take your husband's name. That is, I am very firm on this. That woman comes across 5 seconds in as someone I would just detest. Why? Because she just seems, for a lack of a better term, some people aren't going to like it, she just seems bitchy. And that's not the kind of person you want to spend your life with. There's this great clip of Whitney Cummings talking about how she was out there to challenge her. She wants her, to be there to challenge her man, to do this. And she is completely shut down by a simple question. Why do you think men want that? Why do you think men want to go out there and work and earn and provide and then come home and be challenged? All they want is comfort, love, and peace at home. you don't want an argumentative woman in your life. They just don't. So again, I feel so bad for this man. That is an unhappy life in the making. Dude, run away, dude. Anyway, we're going to leave it there for the week. As always, I'm Tyler Chrestman. Hope you guys enjoyed the episodes. Questions, comments, concerns, leave them down below. Maybe if you're lucky, you'll get to share the stage with some of the great thinkers who have left comments on our past episodes. Hope you guys have a great week, and I will catch you next Friday.